So the government's housing targets looks unachievable, are the Tories to blame. So the number of homes and sites gaining planning approval has continued to plummet for yet another quarter. Is Labour's target of 1.5 million houses in 5 years realistic? Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it realistic? Can they build that many houses in 5 years?
It seems very lofty aspirationally. Obviously, the Conservatives, I think, had a target of 300,000, but they also abolished or outlawed the mandatory housing targets for each local authority. I believe Labour are looking to reintroduce that, so that in theory, each local authority have a certain amount of housing to provide. But in terms of private development and sort of your average developer, not associated or affiliated with the government or anything like that, is less incentivized to develop now due to the lower buyer activity, increased interest rates, things like that. So maybe when the market changes, you'll see a massive uptick. But currently, from where it sits, it does look like
Yeah.
a very lofty
If you
target.
think about did they have a plan? You've been in
Look,
business for a long time. What was their plan? How were they planning to do this?
look, the only time that they managed to achieve such numbers, to build such numbers of properties, 1.5 million in about 5 years, was after the Second World War. And I wasn't alive then, right? Because the government went on a building spree because obviously houses were bombed and
Yeah.
and there was a lot of destruction and everyone needed houses. So they went on that. Since then, they've never achieved that target again. They keep setting it, but they don't achieve it. Now, look, every government, whether Labour or Conservative, they understand the law of supply and demand, right? If there isn't the supply and there's a demand, it keeps the house prices at a certain level. Now, let's look at yourselves or our audience. If you have a house that you've got £200,000 equity in it, but you only have £1,000 in the bank, you feel rich because you are equity rich. So you feel rich, but it doesn't matter how much money you got in the bank. You feel rich because you think, I can, if I ever get to that point, I can sell my house and I've got 200 grand. It makes you feel rich. It's a feeling good factor. Now, let's say that the house prices comes down and there is no equity in the property, but you've got £10,000 in the bank. You feel absolutely poor because you think, if I spend that £10,000, I've got no money. So it's a poor feel factor. So on that basis, every government knows that. So what they do, they try to keep that good feel factor up there, because when it comes round to election and everything else, everyone has to have a good feel factor. And if you ask anyone, they like to boast about how much their property is worth and how much equity they've got. And I've lived through 2 recessions and 2 booms. I've had a business through both, and it's amazing how when house prices starts going down, how poor they feel. So when it comes to the target of what Labour is set, or the Conservative had set before them, they will always set targets. But number one, in order to achieve that target, forget the land. We've got the land. They can always, the government, the councils can say, okay, fine, you know what, release the land for building. Fine. We don't have the manpower to build that many
Yeah.
houses because of, we've come out of EU. A lot of workers, that's obviously Eastern Europeans and so forth, that were helping um, in the building work, they've all gone,
Mm.
almost. And so we don't have the resources to build. Even if we had the allocated land, planning permission, everything in place, we don't have the manpower to build 1.5 million in 5 years. It's impossible. You try to get an extension done in your house and you've got to wait 6 months. before the builder comes round and starts doing it. And even that, they'll put you back another month or two because they're still on the old job. So how are you expecting them to build 1.5 million, and we're talking about every kind of contractor from groundwork to the roofer and everything in between. We don't have the manpower only because of what's happened.
They surely must have had a plan to put forward. You can't just, you probably could, but you can't just turn around and say, this is what we're going to do, and everyone rallies around behind it. There has to be some sort of plan that they originally
Yes,
started.
of course. Yes. How many times a government has done something and they planned it and it just didn't, they didn't have the logistics.
Well, it's happening already.
Yeah. When they plan things, they don't have the logistics. They just plan it. Remember, every government, as far as I'm concerned, every government says the right thing. They have to say the right thing in order to get the votes. But they don't necessarily have to do the right thing. They just have to say the right thing. That's what I've taken away in my years of being on this earth. Every government, not just in this country, but any country, says the right thing, doesn't necessarily have to do the right thing. And people believe what they hear until they don't. And then they vote for somebody else because they believe they're going to do it until they don't.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
There has to be some sort of fact-checking system in place. Surely.
No, there's no fact checking. No.
They can't.
How can it be? Look, they've said 1.5 million houses. That's the target, and we're going to do it, right? You're a homeowner. You're a homeowner, right? You try to get someone to come round and do an extension for you. Do you think they'll be there next month, in 15 days' time? Look, you've got all the money in the world. You have all the money in the world, and you want to build around. You want a good build around. You want to build that your extension will stand the test of time. 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So you go, okay, it's going to take you 6 months. 6 months just to get an extension done. 1.5 million houses? No chance.
No. But that's my issue with that, because let's say if someone comes to me and they've got an idea, you look at a plan. You look at how the plan works. Then obviously I want the plan presented to me in a way that, okay, this is how it works. This is beginning, middle, and end. This is the result. Whether it gets there or not, we don't know. But at least there's a plan that we're working on. So there must be some sort of.
Yeah. Have you seen the plan?
I haven't seen the plan. No.
No, because there isn't a plan. There isn't a plan. If there was a plan, they would have put it out to.
Why is no one requesting for the plan?
Why? Because there isn't, have you ever spoken to a politician? You ask them a question, they answer you something else. So you ask them for a plan, they give you something else. They'll never ever give you what you want. So on that basis, 1.5 million houses, not in a 1.5 million years. Put it this way.
Excellent. All right, we'll leave it on there for today. So that's been brilliant. That's all for this episode. As always, thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts by leaving a comment below. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe to see more videos from us in the future.